On behalf of the League of Women Voters and the citizens of Cedar Falls, I'd like to welcome you all to this council debate discussion. There's an opportunity here to ask questions of all the people running for office for City Council. I'd also ask people to do a few things to make it a little easier on all of us. One of them is, unless you are speaking, if you would keep your mic off, if you mute your mic, just so we don't get background noises. I have a couple dogs, you might have to suffer through that later, but I apologize in advance. I'd also like to thank everyone who's tuning in to listen and learn about these candidates from the voting public. I think that it's one of our duties, but it's also something we much appreciate people taking the time to be informed. More than anything else, though, I want to thank our candidates, and we have great representation here. I'd like to thank Kelly Dunn and TJ Frayne running for the at-large role, and thank you for coming tonight. I see that Gil Schultz running from Ward 1. Is Derek? No, Derek is not present. I don't see Derek. Ward 3, I see we have Daryl, Carol, and Kara, all three candidates running. Thank you for coming tonight. And then so far from Ward 5, we have Frank Dara. Is Dustin here? Dustin just came in. Excellent. So the format is going to be, we have a lot of folks on tonight, and we're going to try to get through as many questions as we can. So I'm going to ask all the candidates to please focus and be brief. We're looking for about a 2-minute response to each question, which means you're not going to be able to wander very far afield. We do have a timer. We'll be flashing times up to give you a little fair warning so you can start wrapping things up. Mary Beth, we wave. Hold up a sign or something. There you go. That's supposed to be 15. There you go. So do time it as appropriately so that we can continue to participate and move the event forward, and also give everyone a chance to answer. We're going to start off by sort of going through, as I call you, and doing opening statements. So sort of introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your hopes for the campaign. So I'm going to call off folks and we'll work through it. So let's start with Kelly Dunn. If you'd go first, Kelly. 2 minutes.
Okay. Thank you to the League of Women Voters of BlackHawk and Bremer counties for hosting this forum. Engagement like this is so important, especially at this current moment in Cedar Falls and in America. I currently serve on the Cedar Falls City Council as council at large. It is an honor that was bestowed upon me when I was elected in a special election just a little over a year ago. The past year has been very busy, but busy people get stuff done. I appreciate the opportunity to serve the city I love. I have lived in Cedar Falls since 1996. I attended the University of Northern Iowa and graduated from Hawkeye Community College. And I currently serve the patients of Unity Point Clinic in Cedar Falls. I have a servant's heart and have enjoyed serving the communities I have lived in since childhood. The idea of possibly serving in an elected position was one that I did not grow up thinking about, as I don't know many women my age that thought that was an option for them. As I have grown and our world has changed, even right here in Cedar Falls, Iowa, my mind started thinking maybe someday I will give it a try. Well, that thought process accelerated quickly as the political environment in our country, our state, and our local politics changed. I decided to throw my hat in the ring in February of 2020 when a special election was called in Cedar Falls. And I did not feel like there was a candidate that had a platform that I could support. My concern was division of a single issue, that issue being public safety in Cedar Falls. While debate is great, it is important to do so in a civil manner. I'm a candidate that will continue on the vision that's been laid out by our leaders before me. They were smart and progressive, yet conservative leaders who were not afraid to think outside the box. And I look forward to your vote on November 2nd.
Steve, sorry, we can't hear you.
You know, you'd think after a year and a half of Zoom, we'd be better at this. Kelly and TJ are both running for the at-large position on the city council. TJ, could you give us your opening statement?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for hosting an event. It's awesome to be able to get to these, whether it be Zoom or in person again. Like I mentioned last time, nobody would have thought a year ago that we'd be able to even get together comfortably in person and or on, Zoom wasn't a thing. So I'm thankful for it. Not very good at it, but thankful for it. I'm running for city council at large. I'm a proud member of the Cedar Valley for 28 years. I guess 30 years. I was born in California, but that's about the extent of my time out there. I've been a Waterloo, Cedar Valley kid the entire time. I grew up in Waterloo, and then I worked for the Waterloo Police Department. I've worked in the Waterloo Police Department for 12 years. Served a variety of roles and a variety of assignments, shifts. I've kind of done a little bit of everything in that short amount of time. Politics has always been an interest of mine. As young as I am, I can point back to 8th grade social studies, really. I had a great government teacher at the time who made it interesting, made it fun, and it kind of just took my interest from there. So I've always looked at politics, but I never knew, at 33 years old, that I would be willing to get involved that early or that soon. The opportunity kind of just presented itself during the special election. I was able to learn a lot the last time that I hope that I'll be able to improve upon this time. I'm running for council because we continue to hear that the citizens don't feel heard or understood or cared about, and that it's such an important role to be able to represent the people, which is what the city council's role is to take the people's comments and people's concerns and people's opinions and actually mold them into practice. We see citizens coming up to council meetings more frequently now and being more comfortable with it, which is awesome to see. But there's still part of perception or reality, either one. We're still failing in the regard where we're representing the citizens or they feel represented. So we need to take ownership of that, and that's why I'm running for city council for November 2nd, is to put the voice of the people back in City Hall. Thanks.
Thank you very much, TJ. We're going to move on to Ward 1 right now. So Gil, if you could share Gil Schultz, if you could share your opening statement.
Well, good evening. My name is Gil Schultz. I want to thank you for holding this event and making me a part of this important event. My wife, Diane, and I have lived nearly our entire lives in Cedar Falls. We've been married for 39 years, and we've raised our 3 children here. We made our careers here, made our education here. I retired from John Deere after a 29-year career with roles of increasing responsibility. I retired almost 5 years ago with the last 6 years or the final 6 years of my career as the manager of safety for the 5 ag plants for John Deere. Currently, I am an adjunct professor at the University of Northern Iowa. I do some safety consulting for some businesses, Kelly Construction, BlackHawk Roof, R&R Safety. And through my professional and personal life, I feel that I've developed a set of skills that would very much benefit the serving of the people and the citizens of Cedar Falls on the city council. My relationship building, problem solving, and decision making. I've been encouraged over a number of years to run for council, and I feel this is a great time to do that. I have done a lot of research throughout this Ward 1, throughout the city, to prepare myself for this position, and I appreciate the support that I've gotten throughout my campaign, door to door, meeting to meeting, getting to all the little avenues throughout the area. It's a large ward. Ward 1 covers a lot of real estate, so there's a multiple concerns that need to be addressed, and I want to be the voice to address that. So I want to thank everyone that's supported me so far and encouraged me so far. So look forward to your support when November 2nd comes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gil. We're going to move on to Ward 3 now. We're going to start with the incumbent, Darrell Cruz. Darrell?
Hello, can you hear me? Very good. Thanks everyone for inviting us, League of Women Voters. getting in on the Zoom session. I guess where there's a will, there's a way. We get her done. I'm now currently, as said, the Ward 3 council member for Cedar Falls. I originate from Northeast Iowa, grew up on a small hog, dairy, and grain farm, graduating from Turkey Valley High School in Northeast Iowa. I attended Hawkeye Community College studying tool and die work and worked in that field for a couple of years before ultimately coming to UNI, eventually graduating with a degree in finance and economics. From there, I started working as a financial planner and have been doing so for 35 years. So I've been in the area for 45 years, going back to my original exposure through the community through Hawkeye College. I also manage and own real estate for 35 years, predominantly college student rentals around the UNI campus, as well as other college campuses in the United States. I have a very good perspective of what student life is about. We're a college town. I have a lot of experiences myself, having multiple degrees and taking, I guess, taking my time through college, you might say. But as a property owner of student rentals, I see for 40 years what's evolved in student life, how it affects the community, the city environment, and what we have to do as a city to plan for that evolution. That's very important. Part of that college experience, I was on the College Hill Partnership Board for 3 years, serving first as a landlord representative and then ultimately as the vice president. I enjoy doing hands-on home remodels, repairs. You can fix just about anything. Avid road biker, I've done over 30 rag rides, and I've biked across the United States twice. I can really appreciate the bike trail system we have here in Cedar Falls. I'd like to see that continue to be enhanced. My nature is analytic, and I enjoy problem solving for people, for businesses, and the reason I was attracted to City Council 4 years ago was I felt that there needed to be more analytical decision-making done, and that's why I'm here. And I want to continue to do so for another 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. We'll now move on to Carol Yates, also from Ward 3.
Thank you, Steve, and the League of Women Voters of BlackHawk-Bremer counties for hosting this forum. Many people in Ward 3 have told me Cedar Falls is a great place to live, and as a 46-year-old resident of this community, I certainly agree. But this success doesn't just happen by chance. It takes many people on the city staff, the city council, and residents to create the Cedar Falls we have today. I want to be a positive voice on the city council to help set a vision for the Cedar Falls we want to see in 30 years. My vision for the future of Cedar Falls is a community that is thriving economically for employers and employees. We can reach for this future by strengthening city partnerships with the University of Northern Iowa. The Business and Community Services Center could help the city attract workers, grow the workforce, and retain the workforce. Beyond using the homegrown local resources of UNI, my vision expands outward to helping Cedar Falls become much more involved in the broader Cedar Valley. There's many opportunities to cooperate with other cities and organizations in the Cedar Valley, and we are missing out on some of those that could benefit many of us. My vision of Cedar Falls is a community that's able to deal with droughts, torrential rainfalls, river flooding, street flooding. In partnership with Cedar Falls Utilities, we can develop infrastructure that keeps the power on, maintain communications, and keeps our water system safe, even if a derecho like Cedar Rapids were to be repeated. My vision also includes a stronger, more welcoming quality of life for everybody. We know that there are racial disparities that some may use to create tension and fear. That's not the solution. The solution is to listen some more, and ask what would be helpful. I hope that we will build on the Racial Equity Task Force conversation. That's my picture of a Cedar Falls built on the work from the past 30 years and moving forward with a strategy for the next 30 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. We now go to our third candidate from the 3rd Ward, Cara Bigelow-Baker.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thanks to the League of Women Voters for organizing this forum. And thanks for everyone who's tuning in here tonight. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Cara Bigelow-Baker. My grandparents were Iowa farmers. My parents came to Cedar Falls after college looking for better opportunities for their family. My dad, Dennis Bigelow, worked for J.S. Latta Company for 43 years. You may remember that building where the old Simpsons furniture transformed years ago. As I said, my dad worked at J.S. Latta for 43 years. It is now school specialty. Excuse me?
Sounds like we, Tara, I'm going to stop the timer for a second. If everybody could just make sure you have your microphones muted as you come in, please. Thank you. I'm sorry.
My mom, Elma, worked as a school teacher at Pete Junior High for 35 years. You might know her as the hard English teacher. She was commonly known for her tough assignments and rigorous grading schedule. I was born in Cedar Falls, and I have lived here all of my life. I live in the Quail Ridge neighborhood with my husband, Scott. I have 5 children who were all raised here in Cedar Falls, and I'm a hairstylist at the Razor's Edge. Cedar Falls is my home. Cedar Falls is my family. I know everything about it. I've watched Cedar Falls grow as I grew. We have grown together. I remember when Cedar Falls had areas that were undeveloped, many areas, so much property that you could choose to build a home, and now it's hard to find a lot. As I had a family, I wanted to make sure Cedar Falls was as good for my kids and now my grandkids as it was for me. You want the city that you love to be the best that it can be for those you love. You know, some of my clients call me the hairapist because people come in and while I cut their hair, they tell me all of their business. They laugh, they rant, they vent, they cry. Listening is a big part of what I do for a living. And for many years, I've become increasingly concerned with what my clients are saying about the direction of this city. What the residents are telling me is that they see their city taxes increase year after year, and they don't see much improvement in the quality of life. Are the roads better? No, because we still have roads that need an awful lot of work. Are we safer? No, we no longer have professional firefighters, and crimes aren't bringing arrests. Most of our firefighters aren't even EMT certified anymore. And before we got rid of them, all of them were. So where is all of our hard-earned tax dollars going? The city is not spending our money efficiently. We have overpaid administrators that make over $180,000, more than the same positions in bigger cities. I thought they were public servants. So why are they paid so much? Building multiple roundabouts where they are not needed, that kill the businesses around them, doesn't make sense. Shouldn't we be driving traffic toward our tax base? My family is not a throwaway family. My grandparents were farmers that started with nothing, earned what they had and took care of their things, saved up and passed it on to the next generation. My parents taught me to take care of the things you have and to not spend money on things you don't need. That's how I had to be raising my 5 kids. We couldn't get rid of everything and buy new for no reason.
Time's up.
I look forward to serving you in City Council. Please vote for me November 2nd.
Thank you, Kara.
No way.
We'll go on to Ward 5. I would ask everybody to make sure that you have your microphones muted. We are getting some interruptions, and we will add time if interruptions take place. So please, let's keep things orderly and moving forward. We're going to move to Ward 5 and the incumbent, Frank Dara.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for doing another fine job under pretty adverse circumstances, pulling this thing together tonight. So thank you. I'm Frank Dara, and I take great pride in having served Cedar Falls for 38 years, 10 years on the Park and Rec Commission, 12 years on Planning and Zoning, and now 16 years on the City Council. And I'm guessing many of you are thinking 16 years might be enough. And at one time I did as well. But during the course of the last year and a half, I've witnessed anger and disinformation about a single issue cause the City Council to lose its focus and collegial approach to problem solving. I'm seeking re-election in an attempt to bring civility and respect for professional staff, respect for fellow council members, and the visionary thinking back to City Hall. The city's goal-setting process is what has set Cedar Falls apart from other communities. It is in fact a purposeful, organized, and transparent process that allows the city to plan and budget for projects 5 years in advance. As a matter of fact, this process is one of the reasons the city recently received a AAA rating from Moody's. Besides believing in the tried and true group process that I just talked about, I'm proud of the leadership that I've taken during my time on the council. Often when issues come up that don't have a simple answer or a precedent to follow, in these occasions, I've stepped up to chair 5 different groups of stakeholders, residents, business owners, and staff to tackle difficult issues. And I see my time is up. I want a chance to return civility to the City Council and continue to implement the problem-solving process. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Dustin Ganfield is our other candidate from Ward 5. Dustin?
Thanks, Steve, very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters as well for the opportunity to visit with you guys tonight. My name is Dustin Ganfield. I decided to run for local office to serve the community at large and by extension, my family. God has blessed my wonderful wife, Tanya, and I with 3 wonderful children, ages 16, 14, and 6. We want to ensure that our community is the best possible place for our family and yours. I'd like to offer my skills and service to help not only maintain the excellence of the city of Cedar Falls, but carry it beyond our current expectations. Tanya and I have had the privilege of serving in youth ministry, including an urban pastorate, for over 15 years. I enjoy developing others, seeing them aspire to be better versions of themselves. And I coach my kids' Cedar Valley Soccer Club teams, direct weekly Awana Club ministries at our church, facilitate small groups mentoring young men, and I serve on our church's safety and security team as well, all in the hopes of preserving values and building up the next generation. I'm currently in my 20th year at Veridian Credit Union. Through my work in IT there, I've learned continuous improvement, and I've received awards for automation innovation as I've overseen their migration of their core system from a manual and predominantly error-prone process to enterprise-wide automation, where we enhanced efficiency, reduced costs, and virtually eliminated human errors. As a family man and a believer, I'm committed to values that put others above myself. I'm committed to authenticity, to integrity, transparency, and self-sacrificing advocacy. You can count on me to seek mutually beneficial compromises in our decision-making, to fight for equality in policy and enforcement, and to be your responsive representative. I'll always remember who I work for, my family, our neighbors and community, and the best possible future we can have together. I'd like to thank you for tuning in tonight, and I look forward to earning your vote for Ganfield on November 2nd.
Thank you very much, Dustin. So that's the opening statements from all of our candidates. Just so you know, we will follow that same pattern throughout the wards as we go through the night, so you can prepare yourselves and not get surprised. At this time, I'd like to invite everyone who's participating, who's not a candidate, to please put forward any questions you'd like to have shared. You can send them to Agnes K if you'd like to message them to her directly through the chat function. Please go ahead and do that. And after I ask 2 pre-prepared questions, we'll have an opportunity to ask the candidates some of your questions. So please take a moment, formulate your thoughts, and share them with Agnes K, and we'll go forward. In the meantime, though, we'll ask some core questions to our candidates. We'll start again at large. This time we'll start with TJ in the at-large ward. TJ Frayne, the question is, what is the most crucial problem facing Cedar Falls, and how shall it be resolved?
Thank you. The biggest issue I see, and a lot of people see, walking downtown, is the workforce shortage in our community. It's a nationwide problem, but more so, it's important that we take care of it locally. I think the way we solve the problem is to get UNI students personally invested in our community. We see job openings in the hospitality field all up and down Main Street, all up and down University, all up and down College Hill. There's jobs available. And I think if we can get those college students into experience those places and maybe take some of those part-time jobs, I think you'll see, the work production and work hours Perfect example being, I wanted to go to Mulligan's one night on a Sunday afternoon for lunch and they were closed, and that's sad and it's unfortunate because I don't think those businesses want to be closed. They just can't find workers to take hours. So if we get those UNI students into those positions, every college kid needs a little bit of spending money here and there, and these positions are perfect for them. And most the positions are willing and able to work around the busy college schedules. So once we get them, onto Main Street, taking some of these hospitality jobs, onto College Hill, taking those positions, I think they'll see that the community is bigger than just the campus. The campus is a big part of it, but if we can get them invested locally and seeing what's out there for them, they're more likely to hang around after graduation as well and be permanent members of our community. I think we can do that by having a city-sponsored job fair for all our local businesses. Cedar Falls relies heavily on mom and pop shops. The economics of Cedar Falls are based on mom and pop shops. And I think we can support them by bringing prospective employees to them. Thanks.
Thanks, TJ. Kelly, I'm going to ask you the same question. What is the most crucial problem facing Cedar Falls and how should it be resolved?
Our most crucial problem in Cedar Falls is the current climate of our local politics. Somewhere in the past 8 to 12 years or so, our national politics have changed and this has trickled into our local politics. We have an environment of mistrust, complicated by a spread of misinformation that makes some folks angry and some folks shut down altogether. First, those of us who are engaged must stay engaged. We must engage our friends and neighbors who might not want to pay attention, but do so in a way that is not overbearing or uncomfortable. I like to lead by example. Oftentimes my friends and colleagues who are not what I would call politically engaged take note of my actions, be it volunteering or in the council role, and they wake up. Some may vote, sometimes for the first time ever. We must also be smart humans and learn to differentiate between facts and fiction. Social media is not going away. It is part of our culture, and we must learn to be smarter so that it does not hinder progress and take us back to a time where all people were not celebrated. We must learn to accept that we might not all agree, but we do need to live and grow together. And finally, we must be willing to run. If we're not willing to put ourselves out there to serve in elected roles, then the pool gets very shallow. At the same time, we as people need to stop expecting perfect candidates. All of us have flaws, and as long as your heart is in the right place, that is what matters. We can have all the vision in the world, but if we don't have the right people in the seat to make that vision happen, there's no point in having a vision. Thank you.
So we'll move on to Ward 1 now. Gil Schultz, I'll ask you the same question. What is the most crucial problem facing Cedar Falls and how shall it be resolved?
I believe the most crucial problem isn't one problem. We have intertwined situations that when we have one problem, it leads to finances. So being blessed with the historic balancing or the managing of our money has helped us. If we look at what our tax rates are, yeah, we don't want them to be increased, but look at the surrounding communities around us, and we can reflect a little bit on some blessings that we have. But if we look at infrastructure, the work that needs to be done at the water treatment plant, look at our streets, the still expansion of our utilities, all of that also comes down to where our budget comes. $100 million budget, half of that, the fire, police, the street, and then the opportunity to invest. Just in Ward 1, there's plenty of opportunities to invest. The North Cedar area, the Center Street project is coming about. That's going to be a great opportunity, but there's still opportunity that we're missing because of not enhancing and investing in businesses there. The Cedar City area, it's great to go over and Cooks, they give me too much ice cream when I get a single scoopy of cone, but that's a great business. But as that riverfront development goes, as that water development comes, we have opportunities to build more businesses out there. Camping, is there potential for campgrounds out there and businesses to grow with that? Downtown, part of Ward 1 that is also in the realms right now. Where are we going to go with parking? Is it going to be a parking ramp? Are we going to pay for parking? How are we going to have that funded? We're running close on time, but there's things we haven't talked about with the vacating of the high school. If eventually Sartori does build its a new hospital, what is going to become of that facility? What's going to become of the facility of the highway patrol if that would move, etc. So
thank you very much, Gil. That was great. We're going to move on to Ward 3, and we're going to reverse the order again just to give everybody a fair chance at things. So Kara Bigelow Baker, if you'd share your answer to the question, what is the most crucial problem facing Cedar Falls and how should it be resolved?
Well, I think that one of the most crucial problems facing Cedar Falls is navigating local government and the communication gaps that are presented when trying to do that for the everyday citizen. People, I think, are tired of trying to work their way through a maze to get a straight answer. You know, we see that a lot at the higher levels of government, you know, trying to work through the state and federal levels, and you can never get a hold of who you need to get a hold of or get a direct answer. And most people feel like in our local government at the city level, we should be able to go downtown and meet with who we need to meet with, speak to who we need to speak with, get them on the phone, or at least leave a message and get a call back, right? That doesn't happen. And people are getting tired of that. They're getting tired of what they see as the runaround answer. They get an answer that's halfway or not complete. They don't get follow through. And quite honestly, they're tired of that. When the firefighters were being eliminated, there was a gag order put out on the city council leaders. The citizens were not allowed to speak to their local representation. That's not okay. Facts laid out by city leaders that don't add up. There's questions right now currently about the cost of the PSO program. Is it saving money? Is it costing more money? You get facts and figures from city leaders and facts and figures put out by supposedly independent organizations, and those facts and figures don't add up, and people are tired of trying to navigate the maze. We need good, honest, transparent communication from within the city, and that's what's going to calm things down all the way around.
Thank you, Kara. Carol Yates, you're next. You're answering the question, what is the most crucial problem facing Cedar Falls and how should it be resolved?
Okay. Resilience is at the top of my list of the crucial problems for Cedar Falls. By that, I mean not just resilience to the changing weather and climate events that all communities need to adapt to, but resilience in our economy, in transportation for all, appropriate housing for all. The city, I think, should adopt some of the recommendations that will fairly soon be coming from the resilience core team and the resilience committee. And I hope the city also will designate an amount of money to directly address some of these issues and some of these possibilities. Like most other communities and states, Cedar Falls needs to move much faster to become more resilient. For example, we could work with Cedar Falls Utilities and increase the number of residential and commercial energy audits to get ideas for homeowners and business owners on how to reduce energy use, to be more comfortable, to save money. The city could also add solar electric to numerous city buildings. There's a flat roof on the library. There's a flat roof on City Hall. There's a flat roof on Public Safety Building. Downtown businesses might also consider cooperating and putting solar on a number of rooftops. And all the business owners could benefit from reduced energy use and lower electricity bills. Neighborhoods might even want to consider doing a solar buy together. So I think there are lots of possibilities. Cedar Falls and all other communities will also need to increase the existing stormwater system capacity to manage new development and increasing extreme rainfall volumes. That's not going to go away. increasing available green space and native and adapted plantings and trees for our residential and our commercial areas can also be part of the answer to this need to be more resilient. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carol. And we'll end the Ward 3 with the third candidate, Daryl Cruz.
Thank you. Looking at the concerns of the community, I'm looking at the changes that are taking place, are expected to take place throughout the city, but starting with the form-based zoning implementation downtown. There's definitely disagreement on how it was, how it came to be. And many of the stakeholders, the merchants downtown, are concerned for their livelihoods on changes with parking ramps. I've been trying to get the discussion brought forward on how we can finance public-private combination of thereof. And we made major progress, I felt, last night in regards to the parking ramp. Then with that, I want to see the stakeholders, Community Main Street, and even people that frequent downtown frequently, often, to join in with the discussion and have a heart-to-heart discussion on what they see for a visioning. Quite possibly redoing some of the visioning, but on a local level without necessarily a consultant there, because I think consultants are brought in to get the end result that possibly some people want. And so that's really a concern of mine. We have an award-winning downtown with a social environment, business environment, business destination. We don't want to ruin that. And the intent is to spread this out through town, throughout the city. And we haven't really delved much into what the changes would be in the residential areas, impacts there and even doing away with planning and zoning and lowering transparency. Directly concerns in my Ward 3, the speeding on Union Road. I've been talking with different stakeholders there and working with city staff on techniques like bump outs and that sort of thing. And then the very last component is the watershed erosion problem we have there, and working with possibly DNR and Army Corps to fix something there. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. We'll now move on to Ward 5. Dustin Ganfield, if you'd answer the question, what is the most crucial problem facing Cedar Falls and how should it be resolved?
Sure. I think, to my estimation, the most crucial problem facing all of us is hubris and a lack of humility. As some have already alluded to, that there is some incivility or disconnect, and it has lent itself to distrust in our leadership. So I began running because I want to be a servant leader. One of my strengths, if this isn't to build following, but my Clifton Strengths Finder #1 skill is woo, it's winning others over. And I find the strength of being able to communicate well with friends and foes alike will serve well on the council. So that's something that I would seek to bring, is decorum to our discussions, continue this togetherness that we're trying to figure out our way through these issues. There's a quote that I don't know if it's apocryphal or who it's actually attributed to, but it says, "A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still." And there's a difference in servant leaders saying, "Won't you just let me serve you in the way I want to," versus "How may I serve you?" and finding out what the heartbeat is of the city. So my intention would be to be a responsive representative, to visit often and candidly with my constituency, and to respond honestly. Personally, I want traditional firefighting models, and most everyone in Ward 5 that I've spoken with does. An overwhelming majority of the folks that have answered their doors want that. But I also understand that there are numbers that have to make sense for us to be able to do that. It doesn't have to be a contentious issue if we come to it together as a community. All the people that are speaking with me want is a safe community. That's what I want for my 3 children. I want that for their children as well. So we can come at these conversations with a lot more humility. And I think that stems from my worldview. And I think that we can serve our community best by holding issues with more of an open hand than a closed fist, as if we have the only right solution forward.
Thank you, Dustin. And with that, we'll move on to the last candidate from Ward 5, the last candidate on this question to answer the question, what is the most crucial problem facing Cedar Falls and how should it be resolved? Frank?
Thank you, Steve. I'm pleased to hear Dustin's approach to this. I kind of share his concern about the incivility, if you will, at City Hall. I view the crucial problem, as I call it, a crisis of confidence. We currently have some elected officials who have established an atmosphere of fear and blame, I believe, in City Hall. Just as an example, continuing to attack the PSO model as making us unsafe, when in fact the model has proven to keep us safe with more trained staff available per shift, quicker response times, ongoing training, and taxpayers love to hear significant cost savings. But back to the issue at hand that I have most concern about is the distrust that certain elected officials have in all of our staff. And my experience as a council member is that, yeah, the council direct staff do this stuff. We have projects, we got priorities, we expect professionals to do the work that we ask. And consistently, that's what we get. And when you start berating in public individual staff members, you have a morale issue that seeps through the system. I'm pretty much aware of at least one staff resignation that was a direct result of being called out by an elected official. And so having an understanding of the relationship between council members and staff and the importance of having the staff's back, I think is really critical. We need to hold them accountable, but they need to know we support their professionalism and the work that they do. Thank you.
We are starting to collect some answers from other participants, so thank you for putting in your questions. Feel free to post as many times as you would like. We can try to get through as many of them as we can within the time allowed. We're going to ask one more question before we go to the audience-generated questions. We're going to start with, again, at large. This time it's Kelly Dunn's turn to go first. And the question is, why should we vote for you?
Thank you. I'm here to serve. I do not have a hidden agenda. I want Cedar Falls to continue to be the great city that I fell in love with when I visited as a child. To a farm kid from Northeast Iowa, Cedar Falls was diverse. It was colorful. It was full of art and music and all the things that pulled me to the University of Northern Iowa. I can see the bigger picture and how we are all intertwined. I know that if my neighbors thrive, then my family and I thrive. I believe in data, in science, in the hard work that the volunteers of this community give to make our city a better place for all. I support resilience and want Cedar Falls to be a leader when it comes to the environment and lessening our carbon footprint. I believe in equity and am a proud member of serving on the Racial Equity Task Force. I look forward to implementing the recommendations of that task force. Finally, I love this community. I put myself out in this arena as an option for folks who might think like me. I don't pretend to be an expert on everything, but I have common sense. I listen, and I'm always willing to learn. In the end, I am willing to make the tough decisions and to take a stand for what is right.
Thank you, Kelly. And now the other candidate for at large, TJ Frank.
I think looking at, a lot of people have mentioned the political climate in City Hall, and I think what's important is the citizens wanting to feel heard or involved. Elected officials, their job is to represent the people of the community and bring their ideas, listen to their concerns, value their opinions, and bring that to the discussion. It's not about writing off citizen input. Council is not a formality and shouldn't be treated like a formality. It should be a time where citizens can come in, address concerns, where they have all council members, the mayor, and city staff in the room at the same time, which is uncommon. It's the one time that twice a month we get that opportunity to have everybody together and talk about concerns, talk about things that are going great, celebrate the city when we need to, and when there's good things are going on, we can address those. And I think that the council has lost that connection to the people. It's not enough anymore for council members to sit and wait for a citizen to email them about a concern. Those days, in my opinion, are long gone. It's about the council taking the role of leadership role and going to the people and seeking out their input, telling them that there are concerns maybe in their neighborhood or in their ward or citywide issues that they need to become aware of. And that's part of the engagement process and making that communication a two-way street. I'm representative of the people. I will continue to represent the people, value their opinion, accept it, take their ideas, form it into a resolution that the people want to see, not necessarily a consultant from out of state or, from across the country trying to tell us what would be best for us. We should value those, take those, and combine it with the people's opinions and the people's desires, because the people are the ones paying the bill. At the end of the day, the citizens are the ones that fund the government. So if we're not representing them, then we're failing. And I plan to represent the people and bring the people's voice back to City Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CJ. We're now going to move on to Ward 1. Bill Schultz is our representative today, and you're going to be answering the question, why should we vote for you?
I believe Cedar Falls is the greatest city that has ever been in existence. I've grown up here for the last over half a century, and I've seen the things that affected us in the late 70s and in the 80s, and how we've resolved the problems that we had back at those times and how we've built on those. And we did that internally. We did that with the people of Cedar Falls. Brought people in that stayed here that helped to build that. I want to represent the people that are the voice of not only Ward 1, but of the entire city. To do that, it's that face-to-face. And as it's been mentioned, we need to engage things like the social media. We need to get the word out. And we can't have a city council that is an intimidating factor when people come in at those times to have those city council meetings just a couple times a month and feel intimidated or don't want to approach. We need to be approachable. We need to be the voice of the people. And I've got the passion to be that voice. I've got the passion to meet with the people. I love to build relationships. I love to solve problems, and I look forward to the possibility of being the council person for Ward 1. I'm very much engaged with diversity, inclusion, and equity. And I've met with some of the resilience folks, and there's great opportunities there. I look forward to working on that project as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Gil. We're now going to move into Ward 3. Daryl, you'll be first, Daryl Cruz, and you'll be answering the question, why should we vote for you?
Thank you. Well, as many people have probably heard me say from the DS numerous times, I'm an analytic. I'm a business analyst for 35 years by trade. I've worked with all types of people in all types of lifestyles and situations, and evaluated hundreds, if not thousands, of business proposals over the years. I use critical thinking, data gathering, process, analysis, basic cash flow type of scenarios or analysis. I try to determine what the intended outcome is of a proposal and what the unintended consequences are, particularly the unintended consequences, long-term, short-term. We can't make emotional decisions at City Hall. We're using tax dollars to run the city, and they're your tax dollars. It's important to use them wisely. I pride myself using simple farm boy logic, as I call it, in the decision process. Some of the things I've done for transparency in the city is I've requested motions and we amended our delivery time for council packets so that the public can be more informed earlier in the week. Instead of Friday, it's now Wednesday. It's been very helpful. I got positive feedback for that. Helps with the analysis part of what's being proposed every 2 weeks. I've also requested to have the planning and zoning workshops where we determine what an ultimate proposal going forward will be, to work its way through the process, to be recorded and available, again, to promote transparency and full disclosure. I find that the basic process that I was trained on 35 years ago still works well as it applies to individuals, to businesses, to nonprofit, municipal money, that sort of thing. So why change it? So I'm the analytic at your service. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. Carol Yates, you have the answer to the same question. Why should we vote for you?
Thank you. I encourage people in Ward 3 to vote for me because I want to look at the next 30 years and help decide what Cedar Falls will look like for all residents. I want to be a positive voice to help move Cedar Falls forward and welcome all. When issues come before the council, I will look at the data, at the evidence on all Cedar Falls issues and make decisions based on facts. I have specific ideas to help strengthen the partnerships between the city and you and I, and also between the city and the broader Cedar Valley. I want to help Cedar Falls be better prepared for severe weather events and be more resilient. Also, I'm a good listener to everybody, and I will, to the very best of my ability, attend all council meetings in person and answer all emails and phone calls. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. And now, Kara Bigelow Baker, you have the answer to the same question. Why should we vote for you?
I think that you should vote for me because I am a true listener. I love engaging people and discussing the things about our town and what people like and what they don't like, and having constructive conversations about what needs to change, what needs to stay the same. I think that the people should be involved in the decision-making process. I'm not someone that likes to force my opinion. I'm well known with the people that I engage with for being able to take the alternative viewpoint and recognize that there's a similarity somewhere in the middle and to work together to find a solution. And I think that as we're looking at where our hard-earned tax dollars are going, I want our money to make a long-term difference. I want to cut unnecessary spending and focus our funds on the things that matter the most to people. Fix our roads. We need some smart development that attracts new and fresh business to our community. And with the rest, let's keep that money in the citizens' pockets so that we can use that and spend it at these new businesses that we can bring to town if we focus on that. Right now, the city doesn't listen to the people, and some people feel that they're abusing their power, and people feel that they get robbed. Developers get special preferential treatment by their friends in City Hall and make millions instead of focusing on where development should happen. We pay the consequences by having empty buildings, closed businesses, worse traffic, no parking, the list goes on. I'm running for city council because Cedar Falls is more than a business to me. The success of Cedar Falls is not just about dollars and cents, but it's about community of people. And I ask for your vote on November 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you, Kara. Now we'll move on to Ward 5. Frank Darrow will answer first the question, why should we vote for you?
Well, I think you should vote for me because of my experience. 38 years of service and demonstrated commitment to Cedar Falls. I think you should vote for me because I trust staff, yet I hold them accountable. I think you should vote for me because I trust the wisdom and passion of our residents. I think you should vote for me because I respect the processes that have gotten Cedar Falls to where we are today. I think you should vote for me because I'm willing to be a follower, a collaborator, a learner, and a leader. I think you should vote for me because I know my limits and I recognize the strengths of others. I think you should vote for me because I put Cedar Falls first.
Thank you. and answering the question, why should we vote for you last? Dustin Ganfield.
I certainly don't think you should vote for me last, but that's okay. I'm kidding. I would like to say sincerely thanks to Frank for his nearly 2 scores of service to our city. I think that's huge. And in that vein, I am willing to take the baton. I mean, it's not everybody that wants to step up like many of these folks are to serve their community. So we have not taken this undertaking lightly. And so after lots of consideration and prayer, my wife is in full support. We decided to run and are happy to help move the city of Cedar Falls forward and ensure that it is indeed the best place to raise a family. I was born in Cedar Falls when we were still delivering babies at Sartori, and I grew up in Waterloo. So I have a heart for the Cedar Valley. The experience that Mr. Dara has is invaluable though as well. So I appreciate that expertise, and I am willing to ask his advice and to be mentored, whether it's this year or 4 years or 8 years from now, that I might be able to serve. Because I think what I can offer the city is this asset of being a champion for change. What I've done at Veridian, when I came into a certain back office, we made some adjustments to processes that were long-standing processes. And some people don't like when you make changes that affect them. But I firmly believe while change is hard, when we can get someone to buy in and see the merits of change, the mutual benefit far outweighs the discomfort of that adjustment. So that's what I think I'll offer to the council. In addition to that, just the servant's attitude, where I put the citizens first, and I want to make sure that I get insight from all folks. As Mr. Frine has referenced, I'll be proactive about seeking out input, not just from my neighborhood, but also from folks that don't see eye to eye with me on every issue. Always willing to listen, and I do speak candidly and transparently about my opinions with any that ask. And in addition, just referencing Mr. Harding, I have a nice beard. Wouldn't it be nice to see me next to Mr. Harding? Thanks for the opportunity.
Well, I'd like to thank all the candidates. I'd like to actually take a moment before we go on with our questions and thank all the candidates for investing their time, not just tonight, but their time and treasure and thoughts in running for office. It is a challenge to run for office these days, and to be willing to put oneself forward, give up their family time and work time and other times is nothing but admirable. And I hope we all recognize that from all of our candidates and support them in their endeavors. I do have one question. It's going to be kind of a long one, so I'm going to say probably a couple times. We're going to start off going back to the at-large group, and TJ, you're going to be first, so I'm going to say it twice for you, okay? The PSO model has been in full effect since February of 2020. Do you feel the program is efficient, and what information are you using to support your stance on this issue? So again, the PSO model has been in full effect since February of 2020. Do you feel this program is efficient, and what information are you using to support your stance on this issue? Got it?
Yes. All right. So this came up, the debate recently, and the rollout of the public safety officer was awful at best. We talked about having organizational charts that didn't even include the people that were actually working in the public safety department at the time, and we were told, well, maybe this will look like the organizational chart for the future, maybe it won't. The reality was the writing was on the wall for several people, and we actually had people training people to replace the people that were doing the training that weren't ready to leave yet. So that was an unfortunate, again, the writing was on the wall of what was going to happen to those people. I think it was a failure in leadership. Leadership was never questioned on why things were happening in the fire department that weren't falling on their leadership to fix. Nobody pointed to the top of the food chain, for lack of a better term, in the public safety department to say, what are you doing to fix this problem that we keep hearing is existing? And the reality is they just let it cultivate until they said, our guys are so bad, we have to get rid of them. Again, poor rollout. As far as efficiency, I don't think that when we look at full numbers, there's been mention of 63 firefighters in the city of Cedar Falls. That's been a number that's been thrown out recently. The staffing is 4 at South Main, South Main, 4600, the main public safety building, 4 firefighters on the 4 PSOs on the fire side, and 2 at 18th and Main there. So we have a total of 6 as a minimum firefighters at a time, which is equivalent to the staffing we had before. So if we have all the numbers, if we have more numbers than we've ever had, our daily staffing should reflect that, and it doesn't. And we're relying on officers on the street to fill those roles, and there's no guarantee they're going to be available to fill those roles. Thanks.
Thank you, TJ. Kelly, I'll ask the question one more time just to keep it in your mind. The PSO model has been in full effect since February of 2020. Do you feel this program is efficient, and what information are you using to support your stance on this issue?
I most definitely feel like it is efficient. There is a cost savings as far as dollars. We have folks who are trained and qualified just the same as any other firefighter in the state of Iowa, just the same as any other police officer in the state of Iowa, serving our community. What have I used? Well, I use data, the hardcore data that is available to prove that it's working. And I also have had the opportunity to go on a couple of ride-alongs and then be present for some training for an afternoon with our public safety folks. So I've spent time with the actual individuals who do the job and do it very well. We have, as it was just referenced, we have more firefighters available than any other time in our city's history. They do a great job serving us every single day, and I'm proud to call them members of our community.
Thank you. Gil, do you need to hear the question again, or can I take a break for a couple of minutes and then start it up again?
I think I have the gist of it here on the PSO. So there are, again, is a situation where we cannot unring a bell. The way it was rolled out was tragic. I've been associated with certain firefighters for back dating 40 years ago when I worked at the paramedic service over in Waterloo, and really had a heartfelt sadness for the way that all went down. Where we are today is that point. If we have that many firefighters, and they are, the staff we have, part of what I want to assure the citizens of Cedar Falls is as bad as the rollout was, as bad as the feelings still are on that, the requirements for those positions are met. Even the 2 of the 3 candidates for mayor are saying that. We have that staff. Regardless of how bad it was when the situation, and again, can't unring that bell, with one of the plans is to divide the police and fire. And to divide that, you have to have trained on both ways, which we could divide that. Or you could reestablish the firefighter position, reestablish the police position, and we have those people. So yes, we are in that situation, with the point being North Cedar is sitting empty. There's no reason, if we have all this staff available, that one, we have 2 ambulances in town that we're paying for, or there's service for. One of them could be sitting out at North Cedar and servicing that from that area of the community, as well as a PSO from that station as well at the current status. So that's where I am. A straight fire, straight police. What we have, I want to assure people that we are protected.
Thank you, Gil. Kara, you're next. I'm going to ask the question again because it's been a little while and I'd love to hear my own voice. The PSO model has been in full effect since February of 2020. Do you feel this program is efficient, and what information are you using to support your stance on this issue?
Hi, thank you. No, I don't feel that this program is efficient. The information that I use for that is going to our recent fires that have occurred within our town. I get really tired of hearing people say, go down and watch them train, go down and watch what they do. I really don't care what these officers do at the training station. I care about what they do when they are on a call. And when the fire on Bonita Boulevard was a total loss and 4 dogs were found dead in the home and the officers didn't make entry. And when there was the fire on First Street next to McDonald's at 4 a.m. and the officers who responded, the PSOs, did not make entry and the man was found deceased in the home shortly before they were preparing to leave the scene, at the insistence of family members to go back in and check because they knew that he was in there. They're not training for that downtown or, you know, at the Crystal Palace, as it's so candidly called. I care about what's happening when at 4 o'clock in the morning. I care about what's happening at midnight when they are on a call. I care that before, when we had career firefighters that were doing their job and career police officers that were doing their job, that every single one of those firefighters were certified EMT. And now we have supervisors that can't pass the EMT test multiple times, not just once, not just one failure, 3, 4 times they failed the EMT test. No, it's not efficient. I care that when we have responders show up on scene, not all of them are EMT certified. I care that when we have responders respond to a scene, a shooting in a trailer park, and they're diverted and told that they're no longer needed, that they still respond in the fire truck because they're responding as police officers, because that's what their training is. Their first training is as police officers, and that's how they're responding. That's what I care about.
Thank you very much, Tara. Appreciate that. Carol Yates, you're our next person up. And would you like the question again, or do you have it?
Nope, I have it, Steve. Thank you.
Thank you.
First, I want to be empathetic and say that I want to make sure we understand the tremendous loss to families in Cedar Falls and any community when there's a tragedy in a fire. When something like this happens, we need to be empathetic and understanding, and that's really, really the most important thing for me. We know we need fully trained people to keep us safe, and that's what the Public Safety Officer Program gets us. Every one of those individuals assigned for fire or police have been fully trained through a state academy as every other police or firefighter in Iowa. They could go to other fire stations and police departments and get jobs. I have also visited the fire department and the police department last week and spoke with a number of the firefighters, the men and women who are firefighters. And I was very impressed with the level of education that they have, the level of commitment, the level of training that they have. In 2020, 5,000 plus hours of training as opposed to just a little over 1,000 hours of training in 2015. I do think that we need to always assess and evaluate any city program. That's very important. We need to use metrics. The information that I base all this on is, the data that I've seen. So we need to use metrics. Is the training getting us what we need? Does there need to be other training? I don't know the answer to that, but maybe there should be different kinds of training. What would it cost? What would it cost to go back to the pre-PSO model? Again, I don't know the answer to that, but it's something that needs to come into play if that's what's being looked at. So we need to look at metrics of before and after, the data, the amount of damage, insurance payouts, response time, those kinds of things. But I feel that the PSO model is efficient and effective. I feel safe. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll wrap up Ward 3 with Daryl Cruz. Daryl, the PSO model has been in full effect since February of 2020. Do you feel this program is efficient, and what information are you using to support your stance on this issue?
Okay, thank you. I do believe it's very efficient. I did a payroll analysis when I first got on council, and looking at the numbers of each pay scale from the rookie all the way up to the veteran, 40 to 41% range is the savings at each level, even accounting for the 11% increase for being dual trained. I've analyzed the workday. We got an 8-hour and a 24-hour shift. We got 8 hours on duty, 8 hours rest and ready, and 8 hours sleeping. It's just your typical 24-hour shift. When they're on duty, they're doing the typical things, responding and so on to calls and calls for service. When they're 8 hours of rest and ready, they're doing what I would call back office paperwork, going on the police side and cleaning guns and doing things to keep themselves busy and allow the police officers to patrol the city and do the work that they need to do that is specifically happening at that time. Other things that I've done to determine the efficiency is I've gone to numerous training events. There were 2 houses donated in my time on council that were burnt, and I watched the training unfold, the water tank and bringing in water and how quickly they were able to charge the lines and so on. I did 2 ride-alongs with squad cars on the Saturdays before the college came in session, the dorms opened up. And that's an interesting time to be in a police car patrolling the hill. I didn't witness any riots, but a number of arrests, and it was incredibly efficient and so on. I was out watching Jaws of Life training, as it's nicknamed, the spreader, the cutter, the ram, being able to lift a dash off of a victim in a car. You can cut up a car in pieces very quickly. So they're trained. The compressed foam system, we got 3 large fire extinguishers driving through the city to put out fires quickly. We had about 15 incidents where they were able to stop a fire without it getting big, and we don't even hear about that part. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Darrell. We're now going to move to Ward 5. Dustin, I'm going to ask you to answer the question first. The PSO model has been in full effect since February of 2020. Do you feel this program is efficient, and what information are you using to support your stance on this issue?
Yeah, I am concerned about its efficiency. I would not cast aspersion against our men and women that are serving our city. I do think that they are desirous to do a terrific job, and by and large they do. I'm concerned about response times that are less helpful than they were prior to this implementation, and I don't know whether to attribute that to a lack of understanding or direction. So those response times have increased greatly, especially given the North Cedar department closure that's only open part-time, if it's not even 5 hours, I do believe. Staffing levels are a concern for me. While we're told that we have more firefighters available, I've heard personally from folks that are in the profession that the callback respondent level is down. So it's not efficient if we're saying, hey, we have 24 firefighters, but only 3 of them are available and 21 don't come back to help. That can be an issue. What data I use to support this speculation is personal observation and conversations with folks that are doing the job. I'll even reference a couple of weeks ago, we had a crash on 58 that unfortunately led to a fatality. And while that was being worked, we also had a power outage that affected several blocks of Main Street and parts west. There were uncontrolled intersections on the highway, on on Waterloo Road. And there wasn't any control there. And though there were calls made for support, there weren't any officers that were called back to come and help in that situation. And that is a public safety concern. So though that is one isolated incident, it is crystal clear evidence that it's not as efficient as it could be. And I would personally defy anyone to prove that we were less efficient or less safe under a traditional firefighting model. I don't think that we would be any less efficient or less safe moving back to that model. And as a champion for change, I believe that we can help figure out the how to move back to this, including the idea of bringing back EMTs as a revenue generating source for the city. And I'm excited to look into that opportunity.
And the last to answer this question will be Frank Darrow. Do you need it again, Frank?
No, I've heard it for a long time, actually. And I get it. I get that kind of change is difficult, and really is the only person here that participated in the 6 years or more of the discussion and the ultimate transition to the PSO model. like many other things that happen at the city, there's not a full appreciation for all of the work that was done ahead of time. That's not going to solve anybody's misconception or feeling about the model, but it happens a lot where people in the community say, we never knew about this, we never had a chance to participate. Why did they spring these things on us? And PSO is one of them that you hear that. Yet it was a 6-year process with multiple public hearings, multiple opportunities. We never asked a firefighter to leave. We asked them to stay and help implement the model. So when I hear people say they were run out or didn't have a chance, that the firefighters had the opportunity, they made their decisions, and that's fine. The public had plenty of input opportunity as well, but the staff and the department did their due diligence for 6 years to determine that, number one, to answer the original question, we are, in my mind, we are still safe, despite a couple examples of made up circumstances that made it sound like we weren't safe, or that our staff was not efficiently trained or prepared. We are, and as Kelly pointed out, with a huge economic benefit. And I get my information from the department, the public safety department, not from the neighbors or other places.
Thank you. So we have one more question, and then we'll go to closing statements. We'll again start at large, and I'll read the question twice because it's kind of a long one again. So Kelly, you'll be going first this time. And the question is this: in regards to senior leadership staff at the city, would you prefer the staff to offer solution, identify future concerns to the council, or have the council present solutions and future concerns to them for them to address? I'll read it again. In regards to senior leadership staff at the city, would you prefer for the staff to offer solutions and identify future concerns to the council, or would you have the council present solutions and future concerns to them for them to address?
Well, I would hope as a good team, we would work together. And if they had a great idea and concerns, I hope they would feel comfortable coming to the council. And I know for certain that when the council comes to them, they will go full force, making our ideas a reality. Our goal setting process is pretty much that. I mean, it's the council coming to them with ideas and giving them direction for the next year or two as to what our vision is for our city. But they're professionals in their jobs. I would think that we would be fools to not listen and take into account of what their ideas might be. They're fully aware, and you know, sometimes I feel like in this environment, because we've created an environment where certain folks are constantly being disrespectful to our staff, I feel like they don't always feel like they can come forward with their ideas, because we have this environment where we've, you know, conspiracy and everybody's going in together to somehow, you know, they're out for themselves. I have not found that to be true at all. I'm very happy our staff is here. I hope they stay here, and I'm grateful for the knowledge they have, and I enjoy working with them.
Thank you. TJ, I'll read the question one more time for you. In regards to senior leadership staff at the city, would you prefer for the staff to offer solution and identify future concerns to the council, or would you have the council present solutions and future concerns for them to address?
Thank you. I think city staff on a technical level can handle the day-to-day operations. The way I look at city staff is kind of preventative maintenance for the city business. You know, they're the ones alerting to things like the boiler in City Hall being bad, and hey, you guys need to really look at this being replaced. things like that. The day-to-day operations and the technical side of things, the staff does a great job with, so they're able to identify emergencies prior to them happening. What the council's role is then to take concerns and issues and take them to the people, kind of come up with a cooperation between the two and come up with a resolution. So what I like to see is city staff address issues that are immediate or emergent or going to be coming soon that maybe are not normal to council business, taking them to council saying, hey guys, there's an issue here. You know, I used the boiler room as an example, saying, hey, you guys need to start planning for this. This needs to be replaced. Because I don't know any council member that knew that the boiler needed to be replaced without being told. And then the council comes up with their resolution, how they want to see it dealt with, and sends it back to city staff to be implemented. I don't think that we need to be, we do need to be proactive in problem solving our issues and saying, you know, the people's concerns that, you know, city staff aren't hearing, that the council is hearing, the phone calls, the emails, the exchanges with the people. Those are what the city council needs to be bringing to the table and telling city staff those issues have arisen. These people are concerned. So it's a two-way communication, but staff does a great job of bringing back issues for council to resolve, and council should be resolving issues to the best of their ability because they control the finances to it all. So I think if council does their job and forms opinions and resolutions amongst the people, you know, because that's when you incorporate the people is with council, then I think you have your best solution that you can come up with.
Thank you. Gil, in regards to senior leadership staff at the city, would you prefer for the staff to offer solutions, identify future concerns to the council, or have the council present solutions and future concerns for them to address?
Ultimately, it's the city council. The city council is the voice of the people. It's why they are elected officials. Having that expertise in the staff is critical too. To have that information on, here's what's going on within the city hall, here's what's going on within the city itself, and offer those solutions. But it's the same as in my past experiences as a manager. I had staff that was involved in industrial hygiene, ergonomics, occupational health, hazmat, DOT. I'm not an expert in each and every one of those. I listen to those experts. I value their opinions, and ultimately collaborative made the decision. But ultimately it has to be a decision, in this case, with City Hall and the council people.
Thank you. Kara, we're going to have you go first again this time. And so I'll give you the question one more time. In regards to senior leadership staff at the city, would you prefer for the staff to offer solutions and identify future concerns to the council, or to have the council present solutions and future concerns for the staff to address?
Thank you. I don't think that there is a one-way answer to that. I think it's a multi form of communication. I think it's two-way between council and senior staff, and including the residents of Cedar Falls. You know, there are going to be issues that senior staff hear about before council that they're going to need to bring to council. There are going to be issues that some council members may be aware of before senior staff hears about that. There are residents that are going to make it into City Hall with questions or concerns about properties or their businesses, with planning and zoning, or with the Parks Department, or with the Street Department. And, you know, they may have a unique opportunity to address something that hasn't come up before, and that's going to make it to a senior staff member who's going to bring that to City Council. And that same resident, maybe not getting the answer, or maybe hearing that this is the first time it came up, they may also address that with their ward representative. And senior staff and City Council need to be able to have open communication and dialogue and find ways to resolve those and work together for the best possible outcome, and keep citizens informed about that. I mean, just because we don't have an answer right now doesn't mean that we're not going to be able to find, you know, a good solution. And instead of making it seem like oh my gosh, we don't know, we'll get back to you. And then nobody returns a phone call, nobody returns an email. You know, I think that open line of communication between all of the counterparts is important. And so I don't think you can say that it's the responsibility of senior staff or the responsibility of council. I think it's a joint effort for sure.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Carol, would you have a response to that question?
Yes, thank you. I would prefer for it not to be either or. I think it needs to be a collaborative effort. We are a city we're a community. I think when we say, you do this, then you do that, and there's a line in between, that doesn't help anybody. That's not getting at the way a community can operate for the benefit of everybody who lives in the community. So I would prefer that there be opportunities for the staff and the council to collaborate. The staff has, in my experience of working with some of them on some sustainability projects about 10 years ago, lots of expertise, certainly a whole lot more than I have in many, many areas. And I valued that, and I felt at the same time that they listened to me. And I think that if we go in with an attitude of collaboration, cooperation, that we can try to work together and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Daryl, do you think, in regards to senior leadership staff at the city, would you prefer the staff to offer solutions or identify future concerns to the council? We'll have the council present solutions and identify future concerns to the staff for them to address.
Well, my experience is we have a combination of both. Through the weeks, months, years, we'll have concerns brought forward by staff that'll brief us and I guess you'd say warn us. For example, the sanitary sewer system, we had to have concerns with EPA and DNR satisfied, so that was brought forward and then we discussed it. Some of it went to goal setting to be analyzed in that context, and then we also have the capital improvement plan, where things go from goal setting to there to go on a 5-year plan. If I'm out and about and I talk to citizens and there's a concern, I can bring what's called a referral forward at the end of the council meeting to get on the agenda. We debate it with the council to determine if there's enough interest and desire to make it worthy of staff time to, excuse me, to put the research together for an agenda item, and then we debate it from there, and then we go through changes and what have you. So I look at the system, and it's both. Both are bringing forward ideas and concerns. And then when I see a concern coming from staff, I bring it to various citizens in my ward and ask their opinions, get feedback. I think the system works well. I don't know if I change it a whole lot.
Thank you. Frank Dara, do you have an answer for this question?
Actually, I'm going to ask you to repeat it because I thought
Certainly.
I thought I had an answer, and then I listened to everybody else's, and can I hear the question?
Here we go. In regards to senior leadership staff at the city, would you prefer for the staff to offer solutions and identify future concerns to the council, or would you prefer to have the council present solutions and identify future concerns to the staff for them to address?
That's what I thought I heard. I see it as a two-way street. Our staff are the professional experts that know what issues are facing the city. I mean, I'm not going to know anything about water quality, but I know what I think is important. So the staff, it depends on the issue. I like our current relationship in that if a council member goes to a conference or is a part of a committee or reads a book and has a great idea, we have an opportunity to bring it to senior leadership and determine, is it worthy of prioritizing at goal setting? But then on the other hand, if we're talking about staffing issues, there's times where I think the council needs to be more upfront with our staff, our senior staff. So it's kind of an interesting dance, I think, that we do as council members bringing personal opinion and community thought to the city business. And you know, you have all these staff members that are there for very specific responsibilities. Yet we come up with some harebrained idea, and I've had plenty of them, and the staff will work towards that. So I think it's a mutual set of responsibilities and a collaborative effort. And some things are led by staff, other things are led by council. And I think a lot of it revolves around then our head administrator who monitors the staff, and our relationship with him is also, I think, quite critical. So that I don't think that answers the question, but I feel.
Thank you for the attempt. Dustin, you get to close out this question. Would you like to hear it again?
Well, I'd love to give you the opportunity to hear your voice, Steve. I've got it.
Okay, go ahead then. You may take
That's all right. Yeah, I have the benefit of being the last one to go on this and following a bunch of great minds. A lot of the words have been taken, but I also agree that it's not an either or. It would certainly be a both and based on extenuating circumstances for each one. Some of the constant care and feeding is, I suppose, easier by folks that have the full-time position. And while this is, as a council person, a paid volunteer position, there are lesser hours. And I would certainly take the initiative to research issues and try to gain insight that would be helpful to the discussion, and then offer those ideas on behalf of my constituents. One of the things that to me I think is an additional here is that we need to keep in mind who the boss is. So while there will be collaboration between city staff and council members, the council members are in charge of those directions and then approving them, but the boss here is actually the citizens. And while there can be some lengthy trickle down that they have to take to enforce their accountability and their will, we have to work for the bosses here. So as a representative council person, you have to be the one initiating predominantly on those things that are going to move our city forward. We have a ton of involved and engaged citizenry in these committees, and that is commendable. And I would continue to invite and implore folks in not only Ward 5, but across the city to get involved and to be engaged so that they can help initiate and drive those changes, being on the ground floor to make sure their voices are heard. And then I would also, like Mr. Cruz has said, I would have to trust city staff to say, hey, EPA is forcing us to do $100 million of improvements to our sanitary sewer. That's something you guys need to be aware of, and you're going to have to vote on it. You should get an education about it in the coming years. So it's absolutely a collaborative effort. And I think more communication is better. And in our push towards diversity as a city, more voices from various perspectives on any initiative is going to be the better solution forward. So it can't just be one expert or one council person. It's got to be a communicative collaboration.
Thank you very much. And let me take a moment to thank all of you for participating. Look what we just did there. Civility and disagreement on the same page. And that's what makes local government work and probably sets the pace for the rest of the world, hopefully. I'd also like to thank you all for the effort, personally thank you for the effort of running. Running is a huge commitment, and your willingness to serve is much appreciated. Unfortunately, in an election, only one person can often win. So I would go further than that and encourage you all to continue to lead in your community, regardless if you're on the city council, which is a very admirable thing, or not. You all clearly care deeply about your fellow citizens, and I think you can serve well. And I look forward to seeing you continue to grow and serve, regardless of the outcome of the election. Finally, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for allowing me to take part tonight and get to know you all a little better. I think this is one of the most important parts of our democracy, people speaking up for themselves and sharing their thoughts. It allows us all to participate and vote smarter. So thank you for that. We're now going to start in on the closing statements, everybody's favorite part, so save your energy. We're going to go in the same order we've gone the whole time. We'll start with Kelly Dunn and then move on to TJ and then work our way down through the wards. 2-minute limit, but please, if you would, share with your constituents your closing statement. Kelly?
Thank you, Steve, and thank you to the League of Women Voters. I have a strong loyalty to Cedar Falls. There's an old saying, if you want something done, you give it to a busy person. I have proven I can get things done in my role as a council person for the past year by being present, willing to listen and learn, and to make data-driven decisions. I care about the future of Cedar Falls. I want to leave my kids and their friends a city we can be proud of, one that they may choose to call home and live, work, and raise their own families in someday. Thank you, and I look forward to your vote on November 2nd.
Thank you, Kelly. TJ?
Thank you again for hosting tonight and the event, and getting everybody together. It's been amazing to see everybody back together again. The reality is the government is for and by the people. It's made up of the people of the community. They are the ones that empower government. And when they don't feel listened to, or they don't feel like they're being involved, they just flat out won't participate. And that just creates frustration in the community. And people just lose interest at that point. And I think we are to that point now. And what I want to do as an elected official is bring those people back, break down those barriers of why people don't feel they can participate or feel that it's not convenient or not simple. Because if government is not simple or convenient, the average person just won't participate. So we need to figure out a way, and I need to figure out a way on how to get those people back and engaged and interested in what's going on, because ultimately they are the government. They empower the government and they empower the city, and they foot the bill for these projects and these good things in our community. Everybody has great pride in Cedar Falls. It's one of the most prideful places I've ever been. I've traveled across the country and met people, and there's nothing like Cedar Falls. The people are prideful. We've got all the amenities of everything we could ever want, but yet we're still just a town of 40,000 where people know each other and people meet their neighbors. So it all comes together by getting the people involved in government, and reaching out to the people and having those tough conversations. It's easy to have conversations with people you agree with. Those are the easy ones that everybody can get through. It's about being willing to have those difficult conversations with people you don't agree with, and finding mutual ground and coming up with decisions based on compromise and understanding that not everybody agrees, but everybody ultimately wants what's best for Cedar Falls. Thank you.
Thank you. Gil, would you share your closing statement?
Well, I will echo the thank yous to the League of Women Voters, to you, Steve, to Mary Beth for the timekeeping, and all the participants. I've had an opportunity to meet with many of them individually. Not going to single out anybody specifically, but TJ Frayne and my one of my wrestling sons go back nearly 20 years, and so it's great to see him making a run here as well. The half of a century that I've spent in Cedar Falls with my wife, and we've seen some phenomenal changes in this city, and we've seen some things that we thought would work out and they didn't. I want to be the voice of Ward 1. I want to work for the city citizens to make the things that we want to improve upon improve, and look at what the endless opportunity is for the future. So I appreciate the support that I've gotten over this last year or so on the campaign, and I look forward to earning your vote on the November 2nd election. Thank you.
Thank you. Darrell Cruz, 3rd Ward, could you please give your closing statement?
Thanks for everyone for having us, giving us the opportunity to present our viewpoints on things, and everybody involved. I'm grateful for having the honor to represent the 3rd Ward of Cedar Falls for 4 years, and I look forward for the opportunity to do so for another 4 years. Having been a personal and business financial planner for 35 years or more, I think I bring a perspective to the council of working with people of all ages, from all walks of life. I understand the concerns of people through my work over the years. I understand what they want to feel comfortable raising your families, to enjoy a city with diverse business, social, recreational, and cultural opportunities and an environment. I understand our citizens, what they want to live, work, and play, and ultimately retire in a world that's safe and secure around them. And I want to work towards helping that be achieved for everyone. I humbly ask for your vote on November 3rd. 2nd, excuse me.
One of those days. Better be the 2nd.
Yeah.
Carol Yates, would you give us your closing statement?
I would. Thanks again to the League of Women Voters for their nonpartisan approach to voting, which is very important. It's important to me now more than ever to be a positive voice for Ward 3 and Cedar Falls to help move the community forward. Our grandson, Burke Yates, is 4 months old, and he makes me want to work even harder to help Cedar Falls be ready for the future, for his future. I want that future to be one that's livable for all of us, one that we're willing to work together toward on problems and solutions. We are all in this together. We, the city, can't do it successfully without the community of Cedar Falls participating. Let me just quickly review my key issues for this election. Support local economic development, continue to welcome businesses, restaurants, tech industries that help our community through good employment, a broader tax base, and economic diversity. Strengthen the partnerships between the city, the University of Northern Iowa, and the greater Cedar Valley. Prepare for a resilient future, which is just common sense. Cedar Falls has the opportunity and obligation to plan for appropriate infrastructure, housing, quality of life, transportation that anticipates the ongoing well-being of all citizens. Support our first responders. You heard me talk about visiting the public safety department, the fire department, and the police department, and how impressed I was with their education, expertise, and training. Become a more welcoming community. Successful community development includes embracing the rich resources in a diversity of cultures, individuals, and institutions and traditions. Please join me to work together to help our community move forward into a future for all of us, and especially today for Burke and the other infants in this world who depend on all of us. Please vote yes for Yates on November 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you. Tara, would you share your closing statement, please?
Hi, thank you. Once again, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. A question of all of us is why do you want to represent the city of Cedar Falls? And the reason that I want to represent the city of Cedar Falls as your Ward 3 council member is because I have been a member of the city of Cedar Falls since the day I was born at Sartori for 50 years. 4 generations of my family live in this city. My aunt is 80 years old and resides at New Aldea, not in the memory unit, but she started in the memory unit. She has dementia. That's a very important issue for me. That's one of the things that contributes to the diversity in our community. The youngest of our family is 1 year old. My parents live here, my children, my grandchildren. We're raising 3 of our grandchildren now. So I have ties to the local schools. I get to get my fingers and my feet dipped in, the local schools and what's going on. I'm very in touch with what's going on in the community. I engage with many people of all ages around town on a daily basis. And my goal is to always listen intently and to have open, transparent conversations to hear what people really have in their hearts and their minds about what's going on in their life and their community. And my goal is to represent the voice of the citizens, to give the citizens their voices back. People oftentimes don't want to stand up, go to meetings, be in a Zoom session and speak out for themselves, but they want someone to represent them. And that's what I hope to do for the residents of Cedar Falls as we look into the safety, the sustainability, the economy, the healthcare, the development, and the diversity of Cedar Falls moving forward. Consider me for your vote on November 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dustin, would you please share your closing statement?
Sure. Thank you, Steve. And thanks again to our sponsors, the League of Women's Voters. Thank you again, Steve, for moderating, and Maribeth for timekeeping, keeping us all on task so that we can have a good civil discussion tonight. I'd like to close by thanking my opponent, Mr. Dara, again for his many years of service and for the conversations that we've already have had that have been very enlightening and are helpful to me to know that he's a resource, both for mentoring as a preparatory initiative and then also potentially as an advisor in a potential term to come. I truly want to make a positive impact in Cedar Falls. I believe that November 2nd's election is going to be pivotal in the Cedar Valley for many reasons, and several of which we've touched on here in our discussion tonight. I would encourage all of you that are watching that didn't get an opportunity to speak to be involved and know why you support your candidates, and any folks that may watch this later as well, make sure that you know why you support your candidates and get out and vote. We need you at the polls. We need you talking with your friends, families, and colleagues and redeveloping and rediscovering connections to a shared vision for our community. And in my Ward 5 neighbors, please remember to vote for Dustin Ganfield on November 2nd. I'd like to thank you all again for your time tonight. I've briefly taken some opportunities to share my why, and I'm excited for the opportunity to share my ideas of how and to work collaboratively with the rest of council and staff to really develop our way forward. I also want to listen to the concerns of my constituents and hear their thoughts, and I want to work for an even better community than we have today. So please feel free to reach out and let me know how I can serve you better. I'm Dustin Ganfield, counting on your support in this November 2nd election. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Dustin. Frank, you have the honor of the last closing statement.
Well,
for tonight.
Thank you. And there's no time limit, right? Thank you, Steve, for moderating this. Maribeth, you did a fine job of timekeeping. Thank the League of Women Voters. Like I said earlier, doing a great job in a difficult time. And thank all the candidates. We may not agree on everything other than Cedar Falls is a great place. We have different opinions on how we're going to get there or how we got there. But I know as a community together, we will get there. I'm hoping that you realize that what I really loved about the conversation tonight, every one of you talked about the great quality of life that we have that we have here in Cedar Falls. And I'd like to remind you all that that stuff doesn't just happen, that we have an outstanding goal setting budgeting process that when if and when I'm reelected, I will make sure that that process stays true, keeps moving us forward, takes public input to inform our decisions. I also will promise to take leadership when asked to ensure that the public is engaged in some of the difficult decisions that I've helped facilitate in the past. That we talked about the racial equity task force, the floodplain task force that was delivered. I chaired those meetings, and to me, that was the best example of community engagement, getting people who were affected by something and getting them involved. And I know those people are out there to continue to help us, whoever's there, to help us make Cedar Falls even a better community for our children and grandchildren. So vote on November 2nd, as you will, and thanks again.
And with that, I'd like to thank Sherry and Mike Dargan for putting this meeting together. Mike does his work quietly, but this will all be posted online. I'm hoping many of you are actually seeing the recording that Mike will post. And again, I'd like to thank the candidates and say goodbye. So have a good night and good luck in the election,
Mike.
everyone.
Thanks, Mike.